When it comes to criticisms about my performance or criticisms of council's performance, it's an easy thing to do. It's an easy thing to do from the armchair, and it is great sport for many people. When it comes to the transit decision and the Marine Rail Museum, in fact, I think those decisions needed to play out exactly the way they played out. They really needed to have lots of public dialogue. There needed to be a lot of attention, because these were decisions that affected particularly transit. Transit has an effect on a great number of people, particularly in Owen Sound, who are dependent on public transit for their transportation. And in order to get it right, why wouldn't we take as much time as possible and find out? I just don't believe that any decision, any good decision, is made in a snap. And there was ample public dialogue, there was discussion. When you receive new information, I think many politicians make the mistake where they won't change their mind when they've received new information. I'm not afraid to do that. I am not afraid. If I have new information and have new dialogue that convinces me that my stand needs to be re-examined, I'll do it. If it's in the best interest of the community, I will do that. And I think that's what happened. I think that perhaps was what maybe wasn't articulated quite as well. When it comes to senior staff, well over 50% of municipal staff in Ontario are retiring in this next 2 to 5 years. We're on the leading edge of that. For our senior staff, most of them there now will be retiring in the next 1 to 3 years. So it's just a natural evolution of a rotation of staff. And at the beginning of this term, we did make some significant staff changes, and I certainly wouldn't advocate for reducing any municipal staff in the next term. I think we need to look at making sure that we have all the departments covered with adequate staff, and that's certainly going to be a direction that the city manager will be looking at. It would be wrong to ever suggest that there will never be a tax increase. I think that would just be wrong. It would be untrue, actually. Raising taxes is the only way that the city has to generate more revenue. The other option is through user fees. To mitigate that, we can look towards our neighbors to talk about perhaps rejigging our municipal boundaries. We can talk to the provincial and federal government and continue to advocate for more sustainable, predictable funding. The problem with provincial and federal funding always is the fact that it's never predictable. So we can't predict from one year to the next, even when it comes to our capital projects, the projects that we may want to see completed. They may not fall within whatever infrastructure program they offer up to us at that particular time. So I think that going forward, looking at the property taxpayer as the only source of revenue is not sustainable. I just don't know. I just don't see how it can be. Would I say a percentage at this point? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't branch out. There's two different things. We talk about a tax increase, and then we talk about a budget increase. And the budget increase could be 5 or 6%, but it could be a tax increase that, after all the numbers are worked through, is 3%. So I don't want to get into talking about numbers, in advance of the budget document, because it would be a little presumptuous at this point. The Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, 6 years ago we were getting about $2 million in transfer payments through the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund. This year we received about $600,000. That will be going to zero, and that will be going to zero in the next 2 years.
Because?
The province made a determination a number of years ago that they were going to wean municipalities off of that particular revenue stream. Now, fortunately, it has been a weaning off, and it wasn't an overnight withdrawal. To give you an example, a 1% tax increase just on the residential side in Owen Sound generates approximately $160,000 to $180,000 in revenue. So if you think about a $2 million hit and you work it backwards, it's a double-digit tax increase that we would have faced had the province eliminated the OMPF funding all at one time. So we were very fortunate in that it's been an incremental cut, but it has been a lot of paper cuts along the way, and I have to say that you know, we're still not finished with advocating for ongoing, predictable funding of some description from the province and or the federal government. The one-offs and the goodie wagon coming up just before each election is pretty frustrating, and as I said, it almost begs for a complete overhaul of property tax system and how municipalities are funded. One thing for sure is that you look towards expanding your tax base. So as you expand your tax base, you create more revenues. So you're addressing the obvious, which is increasing your tax revenues. So in order to do that, you have to get more development. We have lots of developments that are occurring. We have the East Hill commercial development, which is rolling along very nicely. We have the Woodland Estates subdivision, which is filling out slowly. We have the former OSCVI site, which I believe is now 100% built out. We have approximately $15 million in downtown high-end residential condo development that we didn't have 4 years ago as well. We also are looking towards our neighbors, to sharing costs with our neighbors. A real example of that would be the pursuit of the municipality of Meaford to contract policing with Owen Sound Police Services, as well as Owen Sound Police Services has learned to do business differently. And the Owen Sound Police Services Board, of which I am a member, determined that pursuing dispatch for fire police across the province of Ontario would be a revenue generator. We're currently bringing in just about $1 million a year into the police budget that the local taxpayer does not have to look after. So we're mitigating the costs of doing business and providing the service by getting creative and innovative. Council just yesterday passed a motion that will see the bylaw enforcement, the parking component of bylaw enforcement will be done by the Corps Commissionaires. That's a savings of in excess of $50,000. So it's doing the same business, but doing it slightly differently. Those bylaw people, those officers will become employees of the commissionaires. They will retain their employment. And I think that's important as well. It's important to me. We want people to retain their jobs. Many things are done best by public employees, and many things are done best by private sector. And I think that we are on many levels going to look more and more towards those kinds of discussions to see how we can provide the services that people want in the most efficient manner possible.